So what's up, guys? This is my Isperia the Inscrutable EDH deck. Isperia here was like one of my first big creatures. Basically, back when Ravnica came out was when I started playing, and I think I got mainly into the Azorius guild more than anything. And I ended up getting one of these guys, and had a lot of fun with that. Had a really crappily made blue and white deck where this guy was like my favorite. And at the time I couldn't even pronounce his name right. I kept saying like Insperia the Indestructible or something like that. Or Invincible, or I don't know. I was really bad at the game back then, obviously, but I was digging around and found it again, so I'm like, you know what, let's make a commander deck around her. I think it's a her, I'm not 100%, I'll just put it over here. Also, you can check out my sweet Jin Gataxius box that I drew. These blank deck boxes are excellent for artists like me to just draw all over. If I remember correctly, for basic lands we got 12 plains. Okay, no, 13 plains. And then 12 islands. Alright. Getting into non-basics, I don't need a lot of color fixing, as it is only a 2-color deck. So, Glacial Fortress, Calciform Pools. Hold on here. Alright, Azorius Chantry, Reliquary Tower. I just kind of throw this in all my EDH decks because I do notice that no matter what the deck is, I tend to run a lot of card draw, whether I know it or not, so having no max hand size is excellent in any scenario. And Prov Spires of Order, which is just sort of the Azorius land. Seaside Haven is a land which you're probably not familiar with, but lets me lets me tap a white and a blue and sacrifice a bird to draw a card. Vivid Meadow. I don't have Vivid Crick because for some reason I cannot locate any Vivid Cricks anywhere. But I mean, Vivid lands are generally pretty slow, so I'm kind of glad I'm only running one of them. Moonring Island is an island, although that's hardly relevant because I don't have any island searchers. But it does let me sort of half Fate Seal once I have 2 or more blue permanents. And Fairy Conclave is a land that can turn into a flyer, so getting into creatures, I decided to go for a bird theme, kind of a tribal bird theme for this deck, because I thought that was probably the best course of action, as birds, you know, tend to fly, so they work with my commander. If you're not sure what my commander does, I will actually leave a link to a full deck list in the description down there, so you guys can check that out, because I don't really want to rewind and read the effect of my commander this far into the deck. Anyways, Stormscape Familiar makes my white spells cost less, and it's a bird. Mistraven lets me bounce something back to a hand, which is nice for my commander's effect. I like to know what's in my opponent's hands, basically, so got a lot of stuff that does that. Cloud Chaser Kestrel can destroy a problematic enchantment, like Pacifism or Oblivion Ring, or any of those crazy enchantments that those 5-color decks run. And I can make something white, so it helps out. There is a lot of color matters Or there is some color matters, I should say. There isn't like a lot. Aven Warhawk has Amplify, which if you don't remember what Amplify does, it lets me reveal any number of bird or soldier cards from my hand when I play this guy, and he gets a counter, a +1/+1 counter for each card revealed. Aven Brigadier is a bird guy who buffs up all my other birds. Keen-Eye Aven is a bird that can cycle. Keeper of the Nine Gales is a bird that can tap other birds to return stuff to their owner's hand. Excuse me. Taking a drink so I don't run out of voice. Augury Owl lets me scry 3. Celestial Gatekeeper is a recursion guy. When he dies, I can get 2 birds from my graveyard. So he's pretty cool. Major Tarot. The deal about this guy is that he can sacrifice himself to exile all black creatures from the game. Now there are a lot of black or black EDH decks or EDH decks that have black in them in my play group, so I find that reason enough to do this. Plus he's a bird, so why not? Gustcloak Savior is one of my favorite birds. In fact, I always liked the Gustcloak mechanic, where you can untap the creature and remove it from combat if it becomes blocked. This guy gives that effect to all my creatures, so you know, if something happens that I don't want it to, like an ambush viper or something, like someone flashes something in, I don't want that happening, then I can just remove it from combat. Kanji Airy Keeper is sometimes an alternate commander, although most of the time he just sticks around in the deck. He's basically a bird lord who can put a bunch of feather counters on himself. I'll let you pause the video and read the effect. Alright, Changeling Hero is a bird, although he doesn't look like it. He is actually a bird, and a soldier, and a sphinx, and a whatever. I actually like Changeling Hero a lot in EDH, because basically he stows away one of your creatures for the next board wipe, and plus he's a 4/4 lifelink to boot with all creature types. So that's pretty nice. Like, say a Wrath effect hits and this guy's out, you can just like champion one of your better creatures and get it back after the Wrath effect settles. Mind Shrieker is another one of my favorite birds. This guy is just awesome. Gets really strong if I have a lot of mana to spend on it. Arctic Aven, one of the new birds from the M13 set. He's pretty obvious in this, pretty obvious choice. Aven Mind Sensor. This guy is brutal in multiplayer games. He has flash, flying, and whenever an opponent would search a library, instead they only search the top 4 cards of their library. So, I've had a time where someone had to destroy a veteran explorer over this, and everyone ended up only searching like the top 4 cards of their deck for 1 or 2. 2 if they were very lucky, 1 if they were kind of lucky out of the top 4 cards of their deck. Meanwhile, I get to do the whole deck search, so this guy is just really cool. Battlewise Aven has Threshold, which gives him first strike and a buff. And I believe this is the last of the birds. Windbrisk Raptor gives all my attacking creatures a lifelink. So that's really nice. Getting into more of the kind of non-birds, just the other creatures. So most of them have flying. Anyways, Chancellor of the Spires. It's a Mind Sculpt if it's in my opening hand, which is pretty cool. And whenever I play it, I can recur or rather cast an instant or sorcery from an opponent's graveyard without playing its mana cost. I had a game where I played this over and over and over again to keep bouncing an evacuation in my opponent's graveyard, and it just made for a really stalled game, but it was necessary. Muldrifter, Divination on Wings, why not? Reviliarch is just like Celestial Gatekeeper. He can recur most of my birds. And plus he's a 4/3 flyer to boot, so that's pretty nice. Meddling Mage, pretty basic effect. Name their commander if you want to. That commander can't be played. I find some of these abilities where you can name a card and that card can't be played to be sort of underrated in EDH. I don't see them played a whole lot. That's probably because people don't play a lot of blue-white, but anyways, what I'm saying is these cards are really good because you can name their commander, or like a key card that you know they have, but generally I'm naming their commander with this because I don't like other people playing their commander, because I'm a douchebag like that, I guess. I don't know. Valor is a guy who gives all my guys first strike when he's in the graveyard and I control planes. Steel Hellkite is easily becoming one of my favorite flyers in the game. Usually my primary search target with Isperia. Just the board wipe effect and just dumping all that mana. It's like a mana outlet, I guess. It's just such a good card. Sky Hussar lets me draw a card. Draw a card every turn, and it untaps all my guys when he comes into play, so you know, he's kind of cool. He's a 4/3. He's not too bad at all. Sprite Noble is a support creature for my flyers. It gives them an extra toughness, and I can tap this to give them an extra power. Celestial Crusader has all sorts of stuff, but basically he's a crusade on a body. Gives all my white creatures +1/+1, gives all their white creatures +1/+1, gives every white creature +1/+1. Just like Crusade, but he also has flying, so he's nice. Voidstone Gargoyle, just like Meddling Mage, name a card and it can't be played. And if the card's already out, then they can't play activated abilities. Amoeboid Changeling. This card is pretty good. It can turn something into a bird if I need to. I can turn something into nothing, into not a creature type if I need to. And this is a bird as well. Cloudreach Cavalry is a guy who gets buffed up and gains flying if I control a bird. I have 2 artifacts in this deck. Isochron Scepter, which you will see has a lot of viable targets. And Dolmen Gate, which prevents all damage to my attacking creatures. 1 Planeswalker, Venser the Sojourner. Just one of my favorite Planeswalkers that I like to splash in all my blue-white decks. His bounce effect's pretty good. His emblem is really good. I'm generally racing towards the emblem with him. But yeah. So that's Venser. Gitaxian Probe, looking at players' hands, can imprint it on the scepter. Drawing cards, it's just good. Silent Departure, bouncing stuff. Airborne Aid, draw a card for each bird in play. I just love the specificness of this card. It's just so good. Day of Judgment, just in case I need to just blow everything up. Reality Strobe is a bounce spell that just keeps coming back like every 3 turns. Which isn't bad, I mean, it's helpful. Trade Secrets is a fun political card. You can choose an opponent to draw 2 cards, and then you can draw up to 4, and then that opponent can choose to do this as many times as they like. So you can draw yourselves a bunch of cards. And yeah, Heroes Remembered, you gain 20 life, suspend for 10 for 1. This is just another one of those cards that I kind of started out with. I kind of got into the Time Spiral block after Ravnica. So I got like a couple of these guys, these Heroes Remembered cards, and I don't know, I just kind of like them. It's not really amazing to gain 20 life in EDH, but you know, it helps. And World Purge basically kind of resets the game to an extent. Alright, getting into instants, we got Blue Sun Zenith to draw cards, Spell Siphon to counter, Mana Leak to counter, Unsummon to bounce. I don't run a bunch of counters. I'm even in other blue decks of mine, I just sort of, I'm not really a counter happy guy. I just let people play stuff. Mirror Weave, just another one of my favorite cards. Turns everything into something. So I can, like, I don't know, I guess I can turn everything into a Steel Hellkite for a turn just because, I don't know, it's just a fun card to have around. Crib Swap is a really underrated card, in my opinion. I mean, exiling a creature, and plus it's an instant with every creature type, so it works with like Amplify and all that stuff. And exiles a creature to give you a 1/1 colorless changeling token, which, whatever, it's a 1/1, it's colorless. It's all creature types, is really only beneficial to a few things. 2 Arms is a cool card that lets me untap all my creatures and draw a card. This is a pretty good Scepter target, Scepter imprint, and so is a lot of other things in this deck. Boomerang, pretty simple, just a bounce spell. Spy Network lets me look at a player's hand, look at the top card of their library, any face down creatures they have, and the top 4 cards of my library, and then I can rearrange them. So this card is just like I'm just gonna look at everything. I'm gonna know what's going on. And if I put it on my Scepter, then it's just like every other turn. Read the Ruins, just a big draw spell. Peek, looking at players' hands, drawing cards. Vapor Snag, bouncing stuff, making them lose life. Return to Dust is a nice artifact enchantment removal. Coordinated Barrage lets me choose a creature type and deal damage to target creature equal to the number of creature types I control of the chosen type. Excuse me. So, generally a big hit. Telepathy, of course, gotta have that. Gotta make them play with their hands revealed. And also, this card looks pretty sweet in foil, I'm not gonna lie. And you can get this foil for like under $1. So that's really helpful. Well, not helpful, but nice. I mean, whatever. Favorable Winds, of course. Gotta give my creatures +1/+1. Nevermore, again, name a card, can't be cast. Declaration of Not, this is sort of a different take on it. You can name a card and then pay 1 blue to counter that named card. So this guy is generally one of the bigger general hate cards. Pentarch Ward just gives something protection from a color. Ophidian Eye, I'm thinking of replacing this with Curiosity, but for the time being, just, you know, I'm generally dealing damage to opponents because I got all these flyers. Oblivion Ring. Piliation Accord is actually one of the cooler cards in this deck. I didn't think it would be like that helpful, but when you're playing against a, what is it, Azami Lady of Scrolls, one of those types of decks I think it's called, where they're just tapping all their wizards and stuff. This thing just piles counters up and prevents all the damage in the world, so pretty awesome. Frozen Ether, slowing my opponents down since 2007. And finally, I got Halcyon Glaze, which just becomes a 4/4 flyer whenever I play a creature. So that was the deck. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.